So it's time for me to talk about my third favorite team in the league, behind the Celtics and then whatever team LeBron is on. The Portland Trailblazers. Can they get back on track next season? I mean, this year, a lot of injuries. Collins goes out. First week, Whiteside's not that good. Haven't had Nurkic all year. Rodney Hood got hurt. They had to hope that Melo was decent, and maybe, I don't know. Anthony Simons didn't really take off like that. I mean, CJ McCollum has kind of stagnated as a pretty good, not great, but can be great in a single game type of player. And then Dame continues to be one of the best players in the league. Could they make the playoffs? Yeah, maybe. I mean, if they do, they lose in round one. If they don't, they're in the lottery. It's whatever. I will say this real quick, just because I've seen this suggested on the internet before, that they should blow this team up. I think that's a really stupid idea, because then all you're going to do is spend a decade trying to get a player who's nowhere near as good as Damian Lillard. So anyway, you hope that everybody's healthy and good again, specifically Nurkic, Hood, and Collins. To me, of those three, Collins is the most interesting, because I feel like I know what I'm going to get out of Nurkic and Hood. I'm going to get, Hood's going to give me some shooting and some shot creation, and Nurkic is going to be that big body who just, grabs boards and helps the team out defensively, all the normal big man stuff, and he's on a very good contract. Collins, to me, is the kind of the X factor of this team, and I think that's what they were really hoping on before he got hurt. Because one thing Portland has needed for so long is that versatile 4/5 who can just do a lot, switch and stretch the floor and maybe do something off the dribble. We'd have to see that with Collins, but he's the hope for that, right? And it's just unfortunate that he only got to play 3 games this year, because there is a world in which he is sort of their version of PJ Tucker, Draymond, just that guy who, not the most talented dude on the team, but he's kind of the glue guy, I guess, for lack of a better thing. And if Collins and Hood are good to go, then that gives them the most shooting they've ever had in their starting lineup. I mean, you're talking about going from Harkless, Aminu, Evan Turner, those types of guys, to those two who can knock down shots. That'd be cool. The other thing with Collins is, I think I mentioned it, he could potentially play center. And if he could, then that would allow you to get another wing in the game who, as of right now, I don't know who it would be. It might be Ariza. If you wanted to hold on to him, you could decline his contract and get yourself a couple extra bucks for the offseason. Maybe there's a world in which you could go with Dame, CJ, Simons, Hood, Collins. That's not the biggest lineup in the world, but maybe you just have so much shooting and athleticism it makes up for it. Now, in terms of talent that this team could add, I mean, they could have their mid-level. What's the cap going to be? 115? So if they just kept Ariza and used their pick, I'm pretty sure that gets them over 115, although I guess it depends on where their pick falls, lottery or the 14th pick in the draft, or 15th or 16th, whatever it would be. And maybe that guy could come in and be a win right now type of dude for you. Maybe it's always iffy with rookies. But again, they could use their mid-level, and I think it would make sense for them to get a wing who can make some shots and play defense. So, for example, like Marcus Morris, there's others in free agency if you want to go down that road. Just somebody like that, another guy to just kind of cement your versatility, switching on defense, shooting thing. Because there's only so much Dame can do. You need guys around him who can make shots and all that. The other thing that is interesting, and the idea of trading CJ McCollum, because CJ, and I think I mentioned this when I was talking about that 8th seed video, and I'm not the only one who knows this, everybody knows this, like CJ, he can score, he can give you about 20 a game on okay efficiency, not great efficiency, because he doesn't shoot a lot of free throws, but we did see his playmaking improve when Dame was out. So that could be a thing. But that's a big question with CJ. Like, is he just done as a player? Is he ever going to make a jump as a passer? Because if he's just going to be this 20-point-a-game guy who doesn't really give you any defense or playmaking and is not as efficient as you'd really like him to be, then I don't know. Is there a chance you could get something better for him? Potentially, but how would you replace his scoring? Because that is still valuable at the end of the day. I don't really know. I mean, I guess the hope would be that Anthony Simons just takes off, and then suddenly it's like, well, maybe we could trade CJ for a myriad of defenders and stuff. But even then, like, where is that move coming from? You know, like, I think CJ, I can entertain the idea of CJ not being as valuable as his numbers would suggest, but I don't know where the upgrade would be. Unless you could get, like, Jonathan Isaac from the Magic, because they're just that desperate for a dude who can score. But I don't think that's going to happen. I guess the other thing that we could bring up is the idea of the Blazers trading for a third star, because we don't know how the hell this offseason is going to play out. We've seen a star player moved for many offseasons in a row now, including a couple that we don't see coming at all, like D'Angelo Russell, Paul George. There were rumors about Jimmy Butler, but I don't think any of us saw him ending up on Miami. You know, they didn't have any cap space. It was a sign and trade and all that. So, could Portland end up with some star out of nowhere? As far as who it is, don't make me guess because I have no idea. But yeah, potentially. I mean, they'd have to give up a pick, and that would be kind of a tough thing to do for this organization because they don't get very aggressive with moves, and this team could very well be in the lottery this season, so typically you don't want to give up any picks then. But, and this is the spiel I always go to, it's like, are you just going to kind of keep playing the middle ground here? Like, Dame is 29. You ever going to really go for it? I don't know. But if they could, if they decided they would, there are some options. I mean, I mentioned Collins before. He's an intriguing young prospect. Simons is interesting. I guess if you accepted Ariza's option, then that gives you $12.8 million to play with. Collins gets you to about 17, and I guess if you got a third team involved, or you threw a couple more guys in, you know, Rodney Hood or whoever, there's a world in which you could get the money up there, especially if a third team was involved, and maybe there's a world in which Portland could arrange some sort of thing to get themselves a star. But again, I don't know who that guy would be, and also, again, this organization, they like to be safe, you know? They like to kind of do the small stuff year after year, and sometimes it frustrates the hell out of me, but what are you going to do? So anyway, to project to next season, if this team is Dame, CJ, Hood, Collins, Nurkic, draft pick, Simons, and insert solid free agent, I think that team has a chance to win over 50 games. I'm still going to believe in this healthy team to be really good and consistent and all that. This was just a really crap year for this team and their health, and having to rely on Whiteside, who's not good, and stuff like that. So here's hoping they're back. I'm ready to see Damian Lillard in games that matter again.